Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I will be talking to you about financial redress, and I am accompanied by the National Financial Ombud, as well as the Office of the Pension Funds Adjudicator, and we will be telling you more about financial redress and how then you can know how to protect yourself in a situation where you have been unfairly treated by a financial institution. I am going to hand over to Ms. Avitha Nofo, who is the head of regulatory as well as regulation and oversight at the Ombud Council. Over to you, Avitha.
Thank you so much, Lisejo, and good evening to everyone on the call. It is very exciting to talk to something that's very close to my heart, but as much as we have a presentation which is being flighted right now, I will speak very briefly, and then I will hand over to my colleague Lisejo, who is the communications officer at the Ombud Council. I want to start off by asking, have you ever been treated unfairly by your financial institution? I think that's your starting point. And just consider at that stage, when you feel that you were treated unfairly by that financial institution, what did you do? What recourse did you have that you were able to pursue this complaint that you may have had with, whether it was an insurer, whether it was with one of the banks, or whether it was relating to a non-bank credit provider, for example, your furniture retailer, or you went to purchase clothing and you purchased it on credit. So, those are the sort of questions I'd like to have asked at the outset. When you are treated unfairly, who do you complain to? And Lisejo will take you through some of the information in a short while. But I'm here just to tell you that there is a sector, the financial sector ombud system, which actually helps you as a financial customer to take your complaint through to an ombud scheme. You will in a short while hear from colleagues at the National Financial Ombud Scheme, as well as the Office of the Pension Funds Adjudicator, who will explain to you what jurisdiction they have, how they handle complaints, and at which point you may bring your complaint to them. Now, I think another important point to just talk about at this stage is, following my question, have you been unfairly treated by your financial institution? The Ombud system, as mentioned, provides protection for financial customers against unfair treatment. So do you know that you actually have the right, firstly, to be treated fairly by your bank, your insurer, your non-bank credit provider? But what happens if you now have that complaint, you've approached them because you feel that you were not treated fairly and nothing has been done? The bank, if it was the bank, received your complaint, whether it was telephonic or via email, but they did nothing about it. Do you just keep quiet and hide away and pretend that there's nothing wrong? Or do you take charge of your life? You need to be able to take charge of your life. And this is where that ombud system that I talk about becomes so pivotal. You have the right then to access that financial ombud system, and you are able to then take your complaint through to one of the financial ombuds that is overseen by the Ombud Council, so that your matter can be heard transparently, it can be heard fairly without the need for any attorneys, and as an added bonus, it is at no cost to you, the customer. So you will, again, as mentioned, you will hear from my colleagues about at which point you will be able to bring a complaint through to their respective offices. But I think just another point from my side, who is the Ombud Council and why are we here? The Ombud Council is a regulatory authority over the financial ombud system. And this means that if you had to take your complaint through to the National Financial Ombud Scheme, or the Office of the Pension Funds Adjudicator, or the FAIS Ombud, or even the Johannesburg Stock Exchange Ombud, and you find that one or more of these schemes have not been able to attend to your complaint that was in keeping with laws or with their own governing rules, if it is an industry ombud scheme, then the Ombud Council will be able to assist. So like the other regulator, like the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, has jurisdiction over financial institutions, our office, the Ombud Council, has jurisdiction to deal with the financial ombud schemes itself. So the next question to ask is, so what? How does the Ombud Council then help you? We make certain that we monitor the schemes. We make certain that when you approach the scheme, they are doing so in a manner that is in keeping with their governing rules, as mentioned, that it is in keeping with the laws. And then it also allows for us to get from those schemes complaint trends so we can decide what information needs to be shared with the Minister of Finance, with the other regulators like the National Credit Regulators Office or the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, so that if there are systemic issues, those can be dealt with from a policy level. So let me pause there. I will hand over to Lesego so she can take you through some more of what the Ombud Council does.
Thank you, Avita. You have put it so well when we try to understand what financial redress is and really what the Ombud Council does, and how then this is so useful for customers, and everyone is a financial customer. At the end of the day, we use a lot of financial products, and we want to know what then happens when something goes wrong. When something goes wrong, you've had a product with the banks and it doesn't go right, or you've had a product with your stores and it doesn't go well. And this then is where you learn about financial redress. You know, as an example, as I've mentioned, if your grandfather has retired and expected his pension money, but it hasn't come through, when he asks for the fund, they keep delaying or giving him confusing reasons. Or as I've mentioned, you've opened up a student bank account, or a new bank account, and suddenly there's charges that you are unaware of. You try to ask the bank what is going on, and no one is giving you a straight answer. And this is just a few examples of then financial redress is really saying, I have a financial issue and I need help, and it isn't my fault. I know what's going on, so please fix it. This could mean that you either get your money back, you get the problem fixed, or you get an apology from the financial institute that you would be dealing with. And if then you don't get assistance, this is when the financial ombud schemes come in. And these are the NFO, the phase ombud, the pension funds adjudicator, as well as the National Financial Ombud, excuse me. And what do they do? The phase ombud helps us with financial advisors, your brokers, your insurance, and related products. You know, if you've gotten some sort of advice from that. Today, we are accompanied by the Pension Funds Adjudicator, who will tell us more about pension-related complaints and how to go about that. And then today, we're also accompanied by the NFO, which then help us with banks, non-bank credit, and credit providers such as your clothing stores, and insurance complaints. So we are really here to tell you about your rights, and we want you to be empowered to speak up, because you have ombuds that are going to back you. And then the Ombud Council is also there to ensure that you then are treated fairly, and the ombud schemes are operating fairly for you. and within transparency. So I'm going to hand over to one of the ombud schemes for them to tell us more about themselves, and also for us to know then how then can you go about logging a complaint with the ombud scheme, and then we're going to get their contact details. Over to you, Atleha, and Unai.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining this session today. My name is Atlaham Chidi. I work at the Office of the Pension Funds Adjudicator's Office, and I'm an assistant adjudicator there. I've been in the industry for about 7 years now, so I'm very excited to share with you a little bit about our industry and how you can protect yourselves and ensure that regarding your pension, you are properly informed of the things you can do if things do not go your way and your rights as well. So if you allow me just to share my slide, I'm going to switch off my camera just so that it's easier to maneuver around. Just give me 1 second. Mm, Let's just share entire screen. Okay. All right, please, can I get an indication if you can see my screen?
We
Yes, I
can
hope
see
you
your
can.
screen.
100%. All right. So let me just start off by pension funds. I know the audience is pretty young, but ideally, what we understand about pension funds is that it's basically a product, a financial product, where we save up for the day that we retire. And we hope that when we do retire or we are unable to work due to old age, that we are able to have saved enough money for us to be able to take care of our daily needs, finance our lifestyles throughout the last couple of years of our lives. So that's basically the primary idea of what pension funds is. But obviously, because it's a pension fund product that goes on for years before you see the fruits of your labor, there are very much instances where you find yourself questioning certain things. Has your employer been paying your pension funds as they've been deducting from your payslip? Um, what happens to me when I die as a member of a pension fund during employment? Does my money get paid out to my estate? Does it get paid out to my beneficiaries? What does that look like? Or in instances where I've caused damages to my employer and my employer wants to get money to basically uh, basically recoup the money, but they want to use my pension funds. What does the law say about that? So, in that terms, in the past, before the Pension Funds Adjudicator's Office came to be, the courts actually were flooded with a lot of pension funds complaints regarding payment amounts, maladministration, employers not paying any the contributions to members. So what was then established was the Pension Funds Adjudicators Office, which basically is just a leeway for a pension fund complaints or pension fund issues to be addressed similarly to court, but just in an ombudsman manner. I want you to imagine the pension funds adjudicator almost as pension court. You lodge a complaint with us. We are an inquisitive ombudsman, so we do the investigation for you. We go find out the answers for you. We give you the answers, and then if you are still not pleased with the answers, we proceed to make determinations. What in a court will be known as a court order. We call our orders determinations, and it's an explanation capturing the complaint, um, what the responses were, the legal issue that we need to deal with, and essentially the outcome ordering the correction of the mistake, error, or the wrongdoing that was suffered by a customer. All right, so the next question will come to be is like, what type of complaints does this ombudsman deal with? Again, it is pension fund related. So I'm just going to give you the basics of the most ones that we usually see in our office. The first one coming with withdrawal benefits. This is when you usually leave employment, you're entitled to your pension fund. If you're not happy with the amount, you've been contributing for years, you see what you get paid, and it's not what you thought. It's not the amount that you thought, and you want to inquire about that. Withholding of benefits. This is, again, as I said before, when an employer feels like you owe them financially and they go after your pensions. What are the legal ramifications of that? What can you do? What are your rights in that regard? You can lodge a complaint and say, listen, this is what my employer is saying. My pension is being withheld due to this error. I don't think that it is fair or it's correct. And then we can investigate that and apply the law as well. Another big one in our office is employers' duty in terms of the Act and the fund rules. This is usually in regards to the payments of pension funds that are not paid over to the fund. So in other words, your employer is deducting money from your payslip in terms of your pension. They're supposed to deduct and pay to the pension funds, but then they don't do that. And that's another complaint that we deal with. Um, I also look at things like your deductions. So as pension fund products, a lot of them give benefits such as home loan benefits, where you can use your pension fund to acquire a home loan, um, or even again a case where the employer wants to take money from your pension. Again, if you feel like there's something off there, definitely lodge a complaint with us. Maladministration. This is when something as simple as not getting your annual benefit statement, which is something that you are required to get at least once a year. If you don't inquire yourself, you can lodge a complaint with us there. Retirement benefit, as Lesego's example, your grandfather finally retires and he gets paid his benefit, but whether he gets paid his benefit or the amount he expected is not what he got. That's another one. Pension interest. This is related to divorce. When you divorce, a lot of the time, spouses get 50% of their other spouse's pension. So if there's an issue with that regarding delay in payment, we can investigate that. Casual event fees, this is over excessive charges. Death benefits, again, what happens to my benefit when I die, but I haven't claimed it yet, I'm still employed. Disability benefits. This is the benefits. Another benefit that pension funds do is if you are unable to work due to a disability, you do have a risk portion benefit where they allow you to have access to your pension. But again, if a situation occurs where you don't get your disability benefit despite being disabled, we can deal with that. Transfers as well. This is where your employer decides to move from one fund to another fund, and it's taking years to finalize. You're not getting the information you need from your new fund. Your old fund is not communicating anymore. These are the things that we can deal with as well. All right. So our office has a big trend in regards to the trends that are actually happening in our office for years now. It's not something new. It's definitely compliance. This is when the employer fails to pay contributions on your behalf. Many employers tend to do this. So please do your background check to make sure that whoever you work for is a compliant employer. And if they do deduct, inquire about it. A lot of people seem to think that a relationship in terms of your pension is strictly related to the employer and the fund. But as a member, you have rights too. You are allowed to go to the fund, ask them, how much money do I have? Has my employer been contributing? Please, can I get the contribution schedules, which is basically an indication of every month, this is what they've been paying to your pension, right? Um, the second trend is death benefits. This is very confusing for a lot of people because the assumption is that it works like a will, where if you die in service, and you've been a pension fund member and you have this whole big benefit that's left for retirement, but obviously you haven't seen retirement because you passed on before that, what happens to your money? In fact, it is the fund that decides who gets your money based on who has been financially dependent on you. A lot of nitty-gritty is going into that, but ultimately, yes, it's somewhat not in your power, but you do have rights in terms of informing the fund of anyone that you'd like to benefit from your pension should you pass away. I think another point that is not actually on the slide is the the point where your employer withholds your pension. Usually, it's a thing where I've done some sort of misconduct at my employer, and let's say I stole 10,000 Rand from the petty cash and they want to recoup that money from my pension. There are certain things that they need to do as an employer as well as the fund in order to do that successfully. And if you feel that your rights have been violated, for example, they didn't tell you that they're withholding your benefit. They didn't go to the courts to obtain an order that allows them to deduct from the pension funds, from your pension funds particularly, then these are the things that you can come to our organization so that we can investigate that for you as well as resolve the issue. All right. In terms of awareness of financial consumers, basic things you need to do on a regular basis is check your pay slips. Please ensure that when you get a pay slip, make sure you get your monthly pay slip first of all, but then make sure that the deductions that you believe should be there are there. Because there are instances where you, for example, you think you're contributing to a pension fund throughout your employment career, just to find that when it's time to retire, your employer says, perfect, here's your severance package or here's your retirement package. But then when you go to a pension fund, you have no idea which pension fund you belong to. You don't know where your money is. So those are the things you need to check um, on a regular basis. Another thing is ensuring that you receive your annual benefit statement and monitor your contributions. A fund has a duty to give you a benefit statement on an annual basis, not your employer, the fund. So you should be receiving communication from your fund on an annual basis, indicating to you when you became a member and how much you currently have saved up for retirement in your pension fund. All right. And then lastly, in relation to death benefits, of course, is you update your your beneficiary nomination forms. Like I said earlier on, when you die, it's basically not the fund decides who gets your money based on who has been dependent on you financially. But you also have a say in who gets that money, and it makes the job so much easier for a fund if they have a list of names of people that actually are financially dependent on you. So if you're married recently, definitely update your beneficiary form to include your wife. If you have kids, please include them as well. If you're not married, if you don't have kids, maybe you're helping your mother or your grandmothers or your grandfather. Please put them on the nomination form so that it assists the fund in investigating exactly who was financially dependent on you so that they can make sure that the percentage that they allocate to them is accurate. All right. So with all these complaints, you need to understand exactly if you come to our organization, what are you actually getting? From our side, our mandate is to dispose of complaints in the pension funds industry in a procedurally fair, economic, and expeditious manner. So procedurally fair is give you a chance to lodge a complaint with us, inquire about your query. And then we give the fund and the employer their opportunity to respond to that. And then if based on the submissions we receive, we apply the law basically, we apply the fund rules and to ensure that everything has been done correctly and fairly. Economically, as stated before, our organization or our own bits is a free service or free of charge. You don't pay anything. You don't need legal representation. You can come as you are to lodge a complaint, and an expeditious manner is we try to do it as quick as possible, and our mandate mandates us to do it at least within the first 6 months from the date that you lodge your complaint. The main objective of the OPFA is to ensure that the rights of consumers of pension products and services are protected. They're treated fairly and within the principle of law. So we make sure that as a pension fund member, that your rights are secure, are protected. And if you do feel like there is something wrong at any point with your pensions, you you are more than free to come to our offices so we can at least investigate for you. Even if there's nothing wrong per se, rather it's something that you didn't know about your fund, we can still do the due diligence of checking for you to ensure that indeed the fund is acting in accordance with the law. All right. Um, so what to do to protect yourself from unfair financial practices? All right. So consumers should take legal measures when they notice anything amiss. Like I said before, if your pay slip does not have a pension fund deduction, if you are claiming your pension fund benefits and you're not receiving the money, and it's we're talking months, we're talking years now. You've claimed and you've waited, you haven't received anything. You need to know where to go. And the Pension Funds Ombudsman is definitely the easiest place, the quickest place to resolve these issues. Contact your employer and your fund to resolve the matter. If there is an issue, ideally you want to let people know who you have an issue with, that, hey, I have this issue. Can you please assist me? Can you please get answers? But as mentioned before, a lot of the times, some funds and some employers kind of just shrug it off, just say, this will pass, this is not a complaint, or we're not going to resolve it, or we're not going to address it. If that is the case with your situation, feel free to come to our office so that we can deal with that, as the next point says. And then in terms of section 30I, sorry, of the Act, we have to impose a 3-year time bar on a complaint that may be investigated by the adjudicator. So in other words, as any legal action you have against someone, if someone owes you money, and you're aware that someone owes you money, you have 3 years to take them to court. So the same applies here with us, whether it's your pension, whether it is your employer that's not paying pension funds to the pension fund, sorry, your contributions to the pension fund, sorry. You have 3 years. You have an obligation as a customer within 3 years of noticing this error to inform, to lodge a complaint, actually pursue action by coming to our office. If you fall outside of the 3 years, we do ask if there's any reason why there was a delay. If, for example, if you were in prison, or you've been hospitalized for the past 3 years, those factors are also taken into account when we consider whether something has been time barred or not. All right, which leads me to our next point, which is how to lodge a complaint. Your complaint must be in writing, and it must be provided with supporting documentation or evidence. These are mainly like your IDs, your payslip, or your benefit statement. This can be done either by a walk-in into our offices. You can lodge a complaint via our website. You can send us an email. You can send your complaint by post or by fax. Right? Complainants may give an employer or a fund an opportunity to consider the complaint before lodging a complaint at the OPFA in terms of Section 30A of the Act. If you don't do it yourself, we already have systems in place to make sure that we at least give the fund and the employer 30 days to try resolve your complaint before we intervene as per the Act. Right. In terms of jurisdiction, the adjudicated jurisdiction to investigate a complaint is limited to complaints that are not time barred. So, like I said before, if it's over 3 years from the cause of action, from the date you ought to have realized, or the date that you do realize, we do not have jurisdiction to take on that case if it's more than 3 years since the incident happened. Another issue in terms of jurisdictions is that we are not a labor court either. We are strictly restricted to pension fund matters. So if you haven't received your bonus money, if they haven't paid you your leave days, that will be redirected at the labor courts or the CCMA, but we strictly deal with pension funds on our side. All right. So as I said earlier, once we've investigated, we draft out this 12-page document that's called a determination, and essentially is the order that comes from the OPFA. It's important to note that once we've made our order, once we've made our decision, once we've issued out our determination, that's the end of the story from our side. We can't amend it, we can't fix it. You'd almost have to go to a higher court to get it changed. We would have to be instructed by a higher court or by the Financial Services Tribunal to do so. We also don't have enforcement powers. So this basically means that when we order someone to pay money on your behalf, I'm going to make the example of an employer that doesn't pay provident funds on your behalf. We investigate, we found out that the last 3 months of your employment, they haven't paid anything. We make the order to say they must pay the contributions they deducted from your payslip to the fund for the last 3 months, and that's where it stops. Now, let's say you have our order and nothing happens after that. The complainant may approach the High Court to enforce that determination. So you've never seen a judge that orders in a civil case where, someone owes you money and the order has been awarded to. The judge is not responsible per se to go after the person that owes you money, go into their bank account and take their money and hand it to you. That's done by legal representatives or lawyers, which they will be able to help you by approaching the High Court. Another point, as I said earlier, if you're not happy with the outcome of the case in terms of the determination that we've issued, or you're not happy with the orders that we've issued, you may approach the Financial Service Tribunal. They are an institution that basically works as an appeal court. If you're not happy with us, with our decision, they will review it for you. And then if it is in your favor, they may order us to reconsider our determination based on the proceedings done there. You can also approach the courts for appeal should you feel the need to do so. That is allowed in terms of Section 30P. I think I've said a mouthful now. Is there any questions that anybody has? Anything that I want clarity on? Let me just get out. Let me see if there's any hands. Thank you. Is there a hand raised? I see a little hand raised up. Please switch on your mic and let's talk. Oh,
Thank
it's
you.
Lesotho.
Yes, Abraham, please stop sharing.
All right, let me see. There we go.
Thank you so much. I do have a question, and thank you for your very insightful presentation. So what do people need to know when it comes to pensions and pension funds and pension matters? When you're starting a job, what is it that you need to know or look out for?
All right, 100%. Thank you so much for the question. A lot of us are young people, so a lot of us are going to start our new jobs. Maybe you've just graduated, you start a new job at a big company, and you're filling in your papers saying that you're being onboarded. And one of those onboarding things, this is not for all employers, but most employers belong to a pension fund. And in terms of that, it is important to know which pension fund you belong to. A lot of people will say, oh, it's Alexander Forbes, oh, it's Old Mutual, oh, it's this fund, oh, it's fund. But it's key that you know that, because we are unable to assist you because we don't know which fund you belong to. So it's important that you know which fund you belong to. Again, on terms of the payslip, make sure that your provident funds are being deducted from your payslip, so that if there's a month that goes missing without payslips or without a deduction on a payslip, please inquire that, lodge a complaint so that we can find out for you. Also, nomination forms in terms of death benefits. Again, it is crucial, so important for the fund to know who's financially dependent on you when you pass away, because that's who your benefit is going to go to. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you, Adlekha. I do have one last question. What is it then does one need to have or know in order to maybe identify when they are being unfairly treated? What is it that they need to have to safeguard themselves when trying then to lodge a complaint?
Like any legal action that you go after with someone, it is important to have your evidence on hand. So it's important for you to be comfortable with the idea that you are a customer with a pension fund. So you have a relation with your pension fund. So asking for your benefit statements, asking for your contribution schedules, ensuring that you have at least a paper trail to show that, hey, I'm supposed to be saving money here, but when I go to my fund, they say they don't know me, or they don't have the documents, or they don't have money that my employer has told me to do so. So just make sure that you have all your records in place in terms of your pay slips, big important, so that we're able to establish when you started work, for example, as well as how much we're contributing. Maybe it's a situation of rates. Maybe your fund rules say they're supposed to contribute 500 Rand per month to your pension, but your employer is only contributing 300 Rand. It's just important to have a paper trail, but for our purposes, you don't need too much to lodge a complaint. You just need your ID, a payslip. If you have a benefit statement, because we know a lot of funds don't always adhere to giving the annual benefit statement, or you've changed your contact details and they're sending it to a completely different email address that you're currently using. Yeah, just have those documents prepared for us when you lodge a complaint. But it is important to update your contact details with your fund as well. Your employer should be doing it, but as a consumer, you should feel comfortable to check it for yourself. And a lot of these funds have portals that are available, so you can log in from your phone, your laptop, and just check what's going on with your pension fund from that point. All right. I hope I answered your question, Lisa.
You did. Thank you so much.
100.
We're happy to take any more questions if they are there. Otherwise, we will then move to year 9 from the NFO.
Lesego, sorry, I have a question, just that I can't raise my hand. I have a question for Atlehang. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. So my question is it fair or maybe normal to have an employer that does not deduct any pension fund, or maybe they are not with any fund that they are working with?
Thank you so much for the question. Normally, no, it's usually not the case, but you will know if you are onboarded at your employment and no one is speaking anything about pension funds, and on your payslip there are no deductions either, then most likely your employer is not registered with the fund. It's not compulsory for them to do so, especially in the private sector. It's not compulsory to be a member of a fund, except in certain sectors. For example, your security guards, it is compulsory to do so based on their bargaining council agreements. But generally, most employers do so, and it's always good to ask. Just ask your employer, hey, do I belong to a pension fund? And if so, which one is it? And just ensuring that on your payslip there are deductions. If there aren't deductions, but you're told you are, that's another complaint to bring forward to the OPFA. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. You did
Okay,
answer
Notanza.
me. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I see a
We
hand
have a
from
hand.
Lungi.
Oh, there we go.
Please, Lungi, shoot your shot. Lungi, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Hello.
Hello. Oh,
Hi.
sorry about it. Hi, Atlehang, I just have a quick question. Is it possible for me to increase my pension fund? Let's say that I'm currently paying 500. Can I pay maybe 1,500?
100%. So this is usually done by approaching your HR
HR. Okay.
yes, your HR at your employer. You just state
Yes.
either you want to change your pensionable salary, which is increase the percentage of your benefit, or
Yeah.
the contributions they are deducting, or you can just ask your fund if you can be a member that pays an additional amount. They usually call that an AVC. I think it's additional voluntary contributions. Arrangements can be made for you in terms of paying more than necessary, which is a good idea for retirement purposes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Itumeleng, you also said something. Itumeleng, are you covered?
Hello,
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
good, and yourself? I
I'm
just wanted
well.
to ask, that is it possible that when I pass on, ne, that
Mm.
my money doesn't go directly to my spouse? Can it go to my unemployed child?
Absolutely. So when you pass away, the Act in terms of Section 37C states that the pension fund has an obligation to find out who is financially dependent on you. And everyone who's financially dependent on you is going to benefit from your pension fund. So, for example, you are married, but for example, you have 3 kids as well,
Mm-hmm,
and one of the children are overseas. It's not the normal 50% that we are aware of. They allocate based on the financial needs of the dependents. So your children, or if your children are not in a space where they have a lot of money, and especially minors, due to educational purposes, they usually get a big portion allocated to them, and then your spouse will have enough money that the fund deems, based on how much you have, is sufficient for them to cover their needs. Remember, the fund is not looking for maintaining lifestyle. It's looking for the financial needs that you already have, and if you were there, how do we fill in the gaps for those people that were financially dependent on you?
Okay.
All right,
Okay. Thank you, Atlehang.
100%. Any other questions? If not, then
Hello.
I give. Oh, hello. How are you? Is there hello there? Was that Itumeleng? I think it was
Can
Itumeleng.
you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Yes, it's Huawei. How are you?
I couldn't edit my name, sorry.
It's
I
okay.
wanted to know if for you to be able to assist me, is it free or do you deduct? Do you need any payments?
It's absolutely free. There's no need for you to pay us any cent. You just come to our offices, say you have your problem, this is your problem, and then we take it from there for you. You don't need legal representation either. Yeah, it's basically you come to us, you issue the complaint, we go and inquire with your employer, we inquire with your fund, and then we make an order to resolve your issue. So there's no financial charges on your side at all.
Thank
I
you.
hope that answers your question. All right.
Thanks.
All right. I think I'm ready to hand over to Lesego if there's no any other questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for the platform. Feel free to send more questions on the chat, and then I'll make sure to make time to answer some of them as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chidi. I am going then to ask for U9. And thank you so much, everyone, for your questions.
Thank you, Lesego. Good evening, everyone. I am Yunain Dlamini, and I work for the National Financial Ombudsman, South Africa. I'll share my screen now, but I will also stop sharing my video so that you are able to follow through with the presentation. Just sharing my screen. Please do advise when you can see it.
We can see it. Thank you, Unai.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to start sharing now. All right, so as I had previously mentioned, my name is Yunain Dlamini. I do work for the National Financial Ombuds Scheme, and I will be doing a short presentation regarding our scheme in collaboration with Money Smart Week South Africa 2025. So before I get into Money Smart Week, I'm just going to give a brief overview regarding our ombudsman, who the NFO is. So the NFO is an umbrella financial ombud scheme which was formed through the amalgamation of the 4 separate previously existing South African ombud schemes. So we had the offices for the banking ombud, the credit ombud, the Office for the Long-Term Insurance Ombud, as well as the Short-Term Insurance Ombudsman. So the NFO only commenced their operations on the 1st of November 2024. So we are fairly new, but the existing previous schemes had existed for a number of years. So what is the purpose of the NFO? So the purpose of the NFO is to resolve financial services complaints fairly, impartially, and efficiently. So when we talk about impartiality, we are talking about treating either the consumer or the financial service provider equally. So no one has a higher ranking or higher hierarchy than the other. We provide a timely, informal, and accessible alternative dispute resolution service to financial service providers and their consumers. We do promote financial education amongst all consumers as well as financial service providers. So the NFO is made up of the 4 divisions, which each specializes in a different area of financial services. So these 4 ombud schemes have to provide a free, fair, and impartial service to complainants that bring their complaints to our office. These divisions are the banking division, the credit division, the non-life insurance division, as well as the life division. So there are 4 divisions that make up our ombudsman. So under the banking division, the complaints that we do receive, if you've got a current account and you do digital banking, we find a lot of complaints that are related to mobile banking fraud. We've got your phishing. So your phishing is your fraudulent practice of sending emails or other messages purporting to be from a reputable companies. So it'll be your bank. So it'll be an email or SMS coming from your bank saying, please log in and provide us with this OTP. Then you do that. Then that's what phishing is. We also have what is known as vishing. So vishing is similar to phishing, except in vishing, there are phone calls that are made or there are voice messages that are made and left. And when you call them back, they then get to have access to your banking apps. So we do receive phishing and vishing complaints. We've got complaints related to misconduct. And if you do have a savings account, we also get complaints related to mobile bank fraud, phishing, and if the complainant is transferring money to the wrong account. We do get complaints that relate to your personal loans. Maybe there's a prescribed debt on the personal loan. So prescription is regulated by the Prescription Act, and the debt usually prescribes after 3 years. So there might be a debt under your personal loan that has prescribed, or you state that it has prescribed but the bank says it hasn't, then you can come to our office. We've got a balance dispute on personal loans, and where we get complaints where the bank does not want to make any payment arrangements. We also do get, under the banking division, complaints related to the misconduct of that financial service, the bank that you have. Then under your credit division, we get matters related to prescription, where the balance is written off, the debt has prescribed, or there's a listing on ITC. Maybe you've been listed to say that you're a bad payer and you need to pay so-and-so amount. We do get those complaints. There are complaints that are also related to fraud. For non-bank credit complaints, we get complaints related to prescription, a prescribed debt, a balance written off, as well as listed on ITC. We also do get complaints where the complainant is not happy with the terms and conditions of the credit agreement, where at first maybe the credit provider said you were going to pay 10,000 Rand, but they end up making you pay more. We do get those complaints. Then for the non-life insurance division, we receive complaints related to motor vehicles. Maybe you had an accident, the insurance is electing not to pay out for that accident, or where there are delays in processing your claim or repairing your vehicle. We also get disputes related to quantum. So when we talk about quantums in dispute, it's where the participant or the insurer is paying you maybe, for example, 50,000 Rand, but the value of the vehicle is 100,000 Rand, and you're not satisfied with that amount that they are paying, then would have what is known as quantum in dispute matters that we do receive. We also receive warranty or mechanical breakdown complaints. So mechanical breakdown, you'll be driving on the freeway, your vehicle starts to smoke. You then go to your service provider, the panel beater, and they say maybe the conroad has folded. That would be a mechanical breakdown dispute or mechanical breakdown claim. We receive theft and hijack of motor vehicle disputes. Then under homeowners, so homeowners will be your houses, your buildings. We can receive complaints that the insurer has rejected. Maybe you had an act of nature, and the act of nature would be either a storm, a flood, an earthquake, any act that occurs naturally. The insurer then rejects it on the basis that the damage was not as a result of that act of nature, but was as a result of gradual deterioration, wear and tear, a lack of maintenance. We would then receive those complaints. We receive commercial complaints. So commercial complaints are where the complainant is not a natural person, so that would be an individual, but is a juristic individual. So we'll receive also commercial complaints as well as household contents complaints. Then under the life division, life insurance division, will get complaints related to the life itself. Maybe there was admin errors in the life policy, there were delays. We also receive disability claim complaints where the complaint was declined based on the terms and conditions were not met. Usually there are waiting periods, and maybe a death happens, or we get disabled within that waiting period, then the insurer would also reject the claim in that basis, would also receive quantum of claim disputes. So there are a number of complaints that we do deal with because we have 4 different divisions. So we do receive a number of complaints, and the previous slides and the current slides is just an overview of the type of complaints that you can bring to our office and would be able to